Well, thank you everybody for attending. Very glad you're here. My name is Jonathan Tanis. I'm the Director of Product Development here. And today we're going to go through a release summary. Now, I also want to let you guys know that if you go to support.beyondpay.com, you do have the ability to look at release notes. For the last several months, we've been putting out release notes as they happen. So we've been doing a much better job of that. And essentially, anytime we're going to have a release, which is typically every 2 months. So the release cycle is typically on February, April, June, etc. So every 2 months there's a release, and that's a major release. We also have releases all throughout the month for hot fixes and those kinds of things. So the one we're going to go through today is the February 2018 release, and we're also going to touch on some things that have been recent additions to the system over the last couple of months. So going back even into December and October. All right. And I'll have a little bit of a presentation just for the sake of time. There's so much content to cover actually in this February release. So we decided, or at least I decided, we're going to do a little bit of, I don't usually like slides, but we'll get through the slides quick and I will show you some stuff in the system. I'll also say right off the bat, if you're interested in any of these and seeing more details and talking about them, please reach out, support@beyondpay.com. Happy to talk more about this. All right, let's get started. So to summarize, all right, this is the Kronos application. Okay, so it's known as Kronos Workforce Ready. That's the product that you guys are utilizing to various extents. And Kronos has a couple things that they've been focusing on, and we're going to actually see a little bit of a roadmap. All right, so you guys are a little bit unique. You get to have a little sneak peek at the development roadmap that's coming down the pipeline. And we'll get to that towards the end. All right, but as you can see on the screen, transforming the HR payroll experience is very important, especially as it relates to your employees and your managers. Okay, so there's a lot of energy, effort, focus going into the employee experience on what employees can do, what managers can do, making that process as simple to use as possible, getting employees onboarded quickly and easily. All right, we're also continuing to focus on optimizing workforce management. All right, so things like attestation you may not have seen before. That's probably been around for about 18 months now. A big move towards timesheet workflows. All right, and timesheet workflows are very important for our mobile app, which we're definitely going to be able to see today. We got some time off enhancements. If you do anything with scheduling, all right, there's been a ton of focus on scheduler over the last 12 months especially. We're not going to see this scheduler live. We might save that for another webinar, but we'll show some screenshots of that at least. And if you happen to be in the long-term care industry, so with long-term care, including some HPPD reporting, so hours per patient day, that's something that's brand new. That's all right. Big focus on the mobile app. We will show that again. Employee perspectives is pretty cool, so we'll get a little sneak peek of that. Some focus on recruiting, which we will see as well, and year-end ACA reporting, just kind of that necessary thing that everybody has to do. All right, so first off, the mobile app. Not many people have seen this quite yet. I know a lot of you have signed up for the new mobile app. There is a little bit of a setup process that we have to go through, so be patient with our team as we do that. Feel free to send an email to support@beyondpay.com if you didn't get on that list, if you want to be on it, or if it's not moving fast enough for you. Again, feel free to be a squeaky wheel. Tell them I gave you permission. All right, so here's some screenshots of the mobile app, and a couple things I want to point out on this. Number one, the very first slide there shows a little preview of a push notification. So you're going to be able to do push notifications out to your employees through the mobile app. That's something that's pretty cool, especially it's really hard to see. This text is pretty small, but what you're seeing on the screen here is a shift swap notification. So an employee actually requested a shift swap, shows up as a mobile notification, and then the employee can click on it. It opens up our app, and they can request a shift swap or accept a shift swap. So that's part of the scheduler application. All right, so push notifications. So, employee requests time off, pops up on your phone saying, hey, so-and-so requested time off. Questionnaires are something that have been around for a little bit, but you may or may not be using it, but now you can use them on your mobile app. This is very helpful with benefits enrollment, which is something that you couldn't previously do on the mobile app, but with the new mobile app, you are able to do benefits enrollment right from your phone. All right, and one of the features is questionnaires, so you can have depending on the job that somebody's applying for, maybe, or depending on the benefit plan that somebody's enrolling for, you might need to ask some special questions, so they'll pop up on your screen. We also are bringing e-consent to direct deposits and for electronic consent for W-2s. All right, so employees can set up direct deposits right from the mobile app. They can also give their electronic consent to get their pay stubs electronically, right? Pushing to go green. All right, and I mentioned some of the scheduler updates, but employees can add and drop shifts. They can request coverage. They can submit change requests. Managers can approve schedule changes as well, all from the mobile app. All right, and I promise we won't just have a ton of text on every slide, but I just want to get a lot of information squeezed in as quickly as possible. I also want to take this moment to highlight in the Zoom window, you do have the ability to ask questions. Feel free to chat. Questions are probably the best thing that are going to stand out for me, so I'll be able to see your questions and I'll get to them. I'll likely get to them towards the end, though I'll be keeping an eye on them. But definitely ask questions as you think of them, because you might forget them later, so get them posted in there now. We're also recording this session, so we'll be able to give you a copy on YouTube once it's all done. All right, so I'm not going to read through this list, but I just wanted to point out the mobile app is designed for employees and for managers, and you can do a lot more than you could in the classic mobile app that you're probably using now. We actually don't have a ton of usage on the new mobile app. All right, so there's not a ton of people using it quite yet, but it really is cool. I use it personally myself for our team. But definitely note that this is designed for employees and for managers. All right. So as of right now, nobody's going to be processing payroll from the mobile app as an admin, right? So you're still going to be using the desktop app for that, but employees can do a ton that they couldn't do before. And there is feature parity with the existing mobile app. So it's a very easy transition to make. Honestly, it works better anyway. So people have a good time with it. Succession planning. All right, so this is part of the HR product. So if you're using HR Enterprise now, this is something that could be available to you. You just need to reach out for us to turn it on and work with an implementation consultant to get a project in place to work on it and build it out. If you're one of those weekend warriors that likes to just go through the user guide and set up stuff on your own, I know we have several of those, but you're welcome to go through the user guide. Let us know that you want this turned on, and we could turn it on. But again, I'd recommend you work with our team to build this out. But succession planning is basically designed so that you can identify key positions. All right, so key positions within your organization that maybe are difficult to fill, that you want to have a little bit of a hiring plan for, and you can identify individuals to figure out, who might be a good fit, who might be ready now, who might be ready in 1 to 3 years, who might be ready in 4 years, whether they're going to be moving along, do they have potential? All right, so some different factors that we can organize together for succession planning and give us a little bit of metrics and analytics. All right, there's a brand new timekeeping time off roster. All right, so this is just a new report that's available. So if you're using TLM, this is available to you. It may or may not be turned on, so you may need to ask for it. And I'll just give a little plug. Definitely read through the release notes. All right, the release notes have a ton more detail even than I'm going to give you. And quite honestly, for any system administrators that are on the webinar here, there really is no better way to learn our system than to keep up to date on our release notes. There's a ton of information, so sometimes it's just hard to know even what's happening. especially as this product gets bigger and bigger and more features that may apply to you. So reading the release notes are a really good idea. It's something that we encourage our team here to keep up with themselves. All right, I mentioned long-term care. So there's some special functionality with our workload manager. All right, and workload manager, the concept is that you can establish for different volume ranges, you can establish your shift to adjust accordingly. All right, so let's say for nurses, if we have 10 patients, we might need 3 nurses on staff and an assistant nurse, and we need to have 1 resident nurse on hand at all times. If we have 15 patients, then that number increases by a certain amount. If we have 20 patients, it increases a little bit more. And if we have 30 patients, I think you get the point. So the workload manager is you're actually able to import either projected or actual forecasting. So I know that on Thursday, I'm going to have 150 residents. The system will automatically then schedule the number of shifts that are necessary. All right, so you can import a spreadsheet of what you think your forecasted volume is going to be, and then the scheduler module figures out how many open shifts to create. Scheduler also then, based on the skills, based on work time preferences, based on availability of your staff, based on time off requests that have been made and approved, the system can also autofill schedules to give you a starting point or to give your managers a starting point. All right, and then those schedules get posted out to the employees, and now employees from the mobile app can do shift swapping and kind of do their thing. All right, so HPBD, hours per patient day, this is something unique to long-term care. It's something that we can track. So we can track the comparison of actual versus scheduled, of forecasted versus scheduled. So there's a couple different reports centered around here. And I jumped the gun on workload manager. All right, but this is kind of hard to see from here, but it's basically showing you that this is after the shifts are already created. This text is probably pretty small, but import VBS data. So you can basically grab a spreadsheet and import the forecasted, and then based on that, it's going to enter the number of shifts per day that are required. It's pretty cool functionality. All right, so I said that we would give a little bit of a roadmap. All right, so I have a couple slides here. This might be the slide. I guess there's going to be recording, but this might be the slide to grab a little screenshot, right, if you want to kind of save it for later. All right, big focus on position management, succession planning, recruitment, employee engagement, okay? All right, you might have heard the term gamification. That's a buzzword that's being floated around a little bit. All right, finding ways to engage employees. Also in the lower right-hand corner, expand the reach of employee perspectives, the new mobile app, which we've been talking a lot about, and additional analytically dashboards. So analytically is a new product that we're offering that offers some dashboards and some business intelligence that's hooked in with our system. All right, so that's something that's available now. So again, if you're interested, reach out, support@beyondpay.com. But there's a big focus on analytics. All right, so analytically is just one of those pieces. The other piece that we'll be able to see a little bit of, we won't be able to spend a ton of time on it, but we'll be able to talk about employee perspectives. So employee perspective is something that was released about 6 months ago. And slowly every 2 months, we're having more and more features that are available around employee perspectives, and we're going to see a little bit more of that. Essentially, it's our first take into actual analytics. All right, so we've always had reports. It's always been really easy for you guys to get data out of the system. And if you don't know how to get data out of the system, we just recorded a couple webinars on custom reports that you can go to YouTube, go to our channel and grab. You could also email support@beyondpay.com, of course, and we'd be happy to help you out. But if you're not already pulling data out of our system to get it into Excel and do your thing with it, you should be doing that. But we're going to be Kronos is making a pretty big push towards some built-in analytics. And employee perspectives is that first iteration of that. And it's pretty cool. And essentially based on different metrics in the system. So for example, if an employee skips lunch, all right, so maybe if an employee skips lunch, a certain percentage of time, maybe 15%, which is roughly one time a day. So if an employee skips lunch more than once a week, right, maybe they're not going to be as happy, right? So maybe we can start to figure out a happiness factor of how happy an employee is. Maybe we can look at their compensation compared to maybe some certain pay grades. Maybe we can look at how many bonuses they have. Maybe if we have a commission salesperson, based on commission thresholds, we can establish how happy we think they are. We can also factor in some performance. All right, so maybe based on performance reviews, certain scores in certain areas of performance reviews, maybe we want to drive certain activities for employee perspectives. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but I wanted to highlight that. That's a pretty big area. Enhanced time off request approval process. So it's something with to-do items that we've been working on. We got something in the works that'll look pretty cool. Accruals flexibility. All right, so you guys come up with some crazy rules for accruals. Most of them we can handle, some of them we cannot. So there's going to be some improvements coming over the coming months. All right, and again, I'll leave this on the screen just for a little bit, but a couple of ones that I wanted to highlight. We're currently in Q2 18, so everything in Q2 18 is done. All right, so we're working on Q3 18. So these are the things that are coming. So org chart's getting a touch. It'll be available. I should be careful what I say here because you'll hold me to it. But with development, I'll just give that little caveat that everything's subject to change. But some touching on the org chart maybe being available in the mobile app. All right, peer 360 reviews for performance reviews. All right, engagement surveys, engagement surveys, trying to figure out are employees engaged with your organization or not. That can be tied into both perspectives and succession planning. All right. A new product came out in, I want to say October of 2017, is position management. All right. So we now have the ability to assign positions to employees. The idea of a position is when an employee leaves a company, the position stays put. And now you can replace an employee with that position, and all their settings, all their profiles, all their policies, their cost centers, we can also budget some full-time equivalent reporting. They all stay put. So you can run some reports and basically visualize your org chart based on positions instead of employees. So maybe a certain position has 3 FTEs associated with it. So you can budget them and track them accordingly. So that's something that's brand new as of October. It just keeps getting a lot of love. And that'll continue to get some more love with the next release. All right. The other one I'm excited about is the learning. So right now we can track trainings and certifications, but we're going to be able to actually create and upload content into the system and have employee self-service tools for enrolling in self-created content. So maybe you want to create a video, post it in the system, have all new hires go through and listen to the video, maybe do a little test afterwards, sign off on it. So that's something that's on the roadmap for this year. Recruiting online chatbots. All right, I'm going to skip over the timekeeping. I'll leave it on the screen for those that are really curious and want to grab a screenshot for a second. All right, scheduler. I'm not going to talk too much about scheduler, more than I already have, but this is getting a lot of attention. Kronos acquired a company, Empower, back in 2016, and they've incorporated all the rules, the back engine rules from that organization, kept most of the staff, almost all the staff actually. We have a very nice scheduler product now. All right, so I promised we'd leave some time to go actually into the application. All right, so here's what we're going to be taking a look at. All right, so the first thing I want to show you, let me change gears for a second here. All right, so this is the new recruitment screen. the new recruitment page. All right, if you're familiar with our existing recruiting, if you're using that now, it was kind of a bit of a whitewashed pop-up screen. Didn't look very nice, in my opinion. All right, but this is the new experience. So you can do a link for those that understand what I mean. Basically, .careers careers search. Again, email support at beyondpay.com if you want to transition to this. This transition is really, really easy. So if you just want to grab the release notes and do it yourself, you could, but just reach out to support at beyondpay.com. It's really easy for us to transition to the new job page. We have some dynamic searching available. So if I start typing estimator, all right, it's going to filter out based on anything within the job description. We can also filter and factor out by location. So if we have a couple locations that we're searching for, you can customize this picture. So you can make it look and feel like your own. You can customize the logo, of course, in the upper left. So this should look like your job site, not like BeyondPay. All right, from here you can apply for positions. All right, this is also a new UI experience for the applicant. And again, I'd highly encourage you to reach out and turn on the new experience. It's really easy to do. It's basically a checkbox. So employees can apply. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and apply for a position here. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong one. I probably could log into an existing account, but the chances of me remembering a password with 100 people watching are pretty slim. All right, so this is another new feature that you can turn on, really easy to turn on as well, is you can jumpstart your application by uploading a resume. All right, so in the past, this process was pushed down the line a little bit. So you can upload an existing resume. You also have a sample format. And what's kind of cool about this, yeah, I'm not going to open it up. It just looks like a resume. But what's cool about this is if you upload a resume, this will actually allow you, the system will automatically populate and grab OCR, will OCR it and grab data from the resume and then populate the profile accordingly. All right, it's not perfect. It's a robot. Robots are getting better and better, but it's not perfect. But it's pretty darn good. So basically the system will go through and pre-populate the information. All right, I'm just gonna put in. All right, so a couple things you might see that are a little bit different. We have a percentage completed. All right, we have our categories along the left-hand side instead of along the top, so it gives us a little bit better real estate being able to see. Let me save and continue. All right, so notice we got 11% completed now. The other thing that's pretty cool right here is I'm just going to take a little moment, hit the F12 key on my keyboard, and I'm going to simulate, let's do an iPhone X. All right, so ignore all this this stuff over on the right-hand side and just kind of focus in on the screen. You can now, this is a preview of what the mobile app looks like as well. All right, so we're gonna look at the mobile app in a little bit more detail in a little bit, but this is just to point out, if, as everybody knows, people do stuff from their phones now, right? So applicants are certainly going to be applying for jobs by looking on the web from their mobile device and clicking through. This is now the experience that they could have from their mobile device. If they're on an iPhone, they can apply for a job through our system. All right, so I'm going to skip through some of these sections, and while we're doing this, let's switch this over and look at it from an iPad's perspective. Oh, it's a little too small. All right, you can also add an e-signature, so I'll go ahead and sign off on this. All right, we completed the application. Now we need to apply for the job. I'm asking some custom questions. Yeah, and stay tuned for the April release notes. There's going to be a cool little dashboard feature coming. I just saw a preview of it, so I'm looking forward to it. I can't show it to you live, though. All right, so I'll finish and apply. I won't do a cover letter, though technically I probably should have. You can make a lot of those fields required that I just skipped right through. All right, so now I can find jobs, and we're gonna switch off so we can see a little bit more of a full screen here. I'll zoom in a little bit too. All right, so now notice as an applicant, I'm in here. I can look at my applicant profile and I can see that's 100% complete, but I could go back and maybe update my skills or update my contact info if I wanted to. Keep in mind, we can also send out emails and notifications out from the system automatically. So letting them know, hey, thanks for applying. Here's a link to go back in case you lost your place. All right, they can search for other jobs that maybe they want to apply for. They can also see a status of their applications. So this application status, this drives with the functionality in Recruiter. All right, so we're not going to spend too much additional time on Recruiter for now. But if this all looks new to you, I would highly recommend you reach out to support@beyondpay.com. Happy to schedule a call and talk more about this. If you're not signed up for it now, we can talk about pricing, of course. But if you're already signed up for it, this is really easy to transition and turn on the new experience. All right. So keep those questions coming. All right, I have one relevant question. We're about to talk about the mobile app a little bit more. So one question here is, can employees do HR action items via the new mobile app? So right now, you cannot do all HR actions from the mobile app. You can do a lot of HR actions from the mobile app now, but you can't quite do all of them. You will be able to do all of them very, very soon, though. So right now, you can do HR actions for schedule shift swaps. You can do them for simple checklist items. So if you're just checking off the box, you can do them for time off requests and approvals. I'm drawing a blank on the rest of them. I know there are other ones, but it's not every HR action quite yet. Another question, is the mobile app generally the same as the mobile website? Going with a new mobile experience, it's almost the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's almost the same. So, when I go to, you have to have the new mobile experience turned on. But when I go to bpdemo.home, all right, so bpdemo.home, that's going to take me to the mobile experience. It's now a responsive site. And what that means is if I change the resolution of my screen, all right, it's going to adjust, and notice how the menu went away and I just see one menu at a time, but I click on it and see it. Whereas if I make my screen big, it kind of expands out and shows me my applications on the left. So this functionality is very close to the mobile app, but it's not exactly the same. I don't have a good example with the screen we're on now, but like if I clicked on a date field, if I'm on a mobile phone, it'll pick up your phone's date. Whereas if I'm on a browser, it's just going to let me type in the text or maybe let me see a UI date that's driven from it. All right, so let's go here. And we're going to take a look at the mobile app. All right. So I'm going to start off looking at the mobile app, even though we're kind of on a desktop, just because it's a little bit sometimes hard to see when we're streaming over the web. But I'm going to transition back and forth. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to sign in with Google because I get to cheat. Oh, actually, let's do it over. Since I don't ever remember my password, we're going to use a different link. All right, again, if you're interested in the mobile app, you definitely need to sign up. So email support@beyondpay.com. Let me zoom in a little bit. If you've already signed up, you're on the list. Feel free to be a squeaky wheel. All right, so let's sign in one more time. This time it should work. All right, so I'm logged in as a manager. His name is Paul. All right, again, this is the new mobile app, and I just want to show that it's a mobile app by clicking on the F12 key. Obviously, I'm simulating a mobile app. This isn't actually a mobile app. I'm using a desktop right now, but the mobile app certainly does work and is live. It's just easier to demo from the screen here. All right. So my navigation, I've got a navigation bar in the upper left. All right, which is pretty common. I can scroll down. All right, so kind of imagine that you're just swiping your finger. All right, we can see some announcements. Little timesheet chart, got some statistics here for some accruals. All right, new feature alert. You can do benefits enrollment from the mobile app now. So I've got a life change event started for a birth adoption. I've also got a request to continue open enrollment. And it shows me the percentage completed. I can look at my pay stub history. All right. Paul's been doing very good for himself, apparently. You can download that pay stub to a PDF so you can have it right on your phone. All right. The other thing that you're going to start noticing is a movement to some context-sensitive tabs along the top. So we've got pay history, direct deposit, and tax forms. In the past, you had to use the menus to navigate around the system, but I'm talking about payroll right now. So now the system's smart enough to know, okay, kind of related to pay history would be direct deposit information. This is another thing that employees might want to do. So I can click on direct deposit, and I can actually add direct deposit. All right, I can also see my forms. Apparently I don't have any W-2s for Paul, but I can give my e-consent. All right, so Paul can say, you know what, it's okay. I just want to get my W-2 electronically. You don't need to print and ship me anything. All right, some other stuff we can do from the mobile app. All right, I can see the benefits. So I can enroll in benefits. So maybe I've got a life change event. Again, you can do this all from your mobile device now. Maybe I want to compare a plan. So let me see the family plans. And I want to see the total premium, contribution, and my deductible and my max out of pocket. So I can see a little side by side. Oh, demo demons. Something's not configured properly. All right, so we can do a little comparison. Again, we're all from our mobile devices. All right, my time. So we can take a look at our timesheet from the mobile device. So if you're used to the old mobile app, you're in for a nice surprise. All right, so timesheet notes are available. We can just enter in when we start and stop working. There can be a punch button at the top. We have that turned off for this guy. All right, some cost center information. So if you need to do allocations, you may do so. All right, and the main reason that you need to sign up for the mobile app is actually centered around TLM. So when an employee is submitting their timesheet, all right, what we're transitioning people to in order to use the mobile app is you need to use what we call to-do items now. And to-do items will show up. You'll see this little alert here on the mobile app. It also shows as a bell in the system. So in order to use the new mobile app, all your timesheets need to be going through a workflow in order to use the new mobile app. So that's really the main cause of delay is we have to do we have to do a little bit of work to get that working. All right, we're doing that. We're doing that free of charge. All right, so there's no charge to use the new mobile app. We want you using the new mobile app. It's the future. If you don't want to use the new mobile app now, that's fine. But we want you to. And there's going to be lots of new features that are going to kind of incentivize you to move forward in that direction in the future. So there's not really a timeline for that. The classic app's going to be supported for the indefinite future. But you're definitely going to want to transition to the new mobile app. There's going to be a ton of new features coming that you're not going to get in the classic app. All right, you can submit timesheets from the app now. You can request time off from the app, which you could always do. All right, so that's something you could always do. I think it's a little bit easier now, a little more responsive. Maybe request a leave of absence, part of the leave of absence module. Request overtime. That might be something that you're not using right now, but you can track approved and unapproved overtime. I'm not scheduled to work, so there's no schedule showing. All right, brand new is we now have some reports available. All right, we're going to skip over some of that for now, though, because I want to show you some team functions. So Paul is a manager. All right, Paul is a manager, has access to his team. All right, so let's look at pending approval. So these are employees that he is responsible for reviewing and approving timesheets. All right, now he may want to use the desktop app for this, if you're going to be running reports and doing all sorts of, extra credit stuff to make sure those timesheets are accurate. You may want to do this from the desktop app. But, if you're keeping up with your work from the desktop for, most of the things and all you're doing is at the end of the pay period, just reviewing and making sure we're good, you can come in here, take a look at those timesheets, maybe jump around, look at their employee profile, maybe see details on their timesheet. Maybe you need to leave notes, but you can approve and reject timesheets from the mobile app now. All right, and you can see you can run some reports. This is just working when I tested it out earlier, but got to filter off now. That's okay. All right, time off. All right, so a little time off calendar so we can see when employees are taking time off. All right, let's take a look at to-do items as well. So another feature that you may or may not be familiar with that got some attention with the new release, the concept of to-do items and notifications. All right, so there's actually mailbox functionality. It's been around for a while. Not too many people are using it, but I mentioned that you can do push notifications to mobile devices. So it's part of our mailbox feature. So maybe when you have a timesheet that needs to be approved, maybe when an employee requests a time off, instead of sending an email, or maybe in addition to sending an email, we can send a notification and it'll show up in your notifications window. It'll pop up on your phone just like a text message pops up, prompting you, and then you click on it and then it opens up our app and you can do what you need to do from it. All right, so right now it's mostly for schedule swapping, for timesheet approvals or rejections, for time off request approvals and rejections. That's most of what the to-do items are so far, but more to come in the future. Keep the questions coming. Let me take a look. All right, so somebody asked, what's the cost for the company to sign up for the mobile app? There is no cost to sign up for the mobile app. So the mobile app's included with every product that we offer. There might be a little bit of setup that we'll need to do in order to get the mobile app working, so it might take a little bit of time, but we're not charging for that time to get it set up. Now, if you want to build out a new area of the system that you've never used before, like if you've never used timesheets and you want to start using timesheets, there'd be a cost to build that out potentially, but there's no cost to turn on the mobile app, especially if you're already using the existing old mobile app. So somebody asked for direct deposit. Can the system ask the employee to attach a picture of voided check? Right now, we can only do that in the classic app. I'm sorry, in the the desktop experience, not on the mobile app. But stay tuned for April because that's on the release notes. So April, we're supposed to be able to do custom forms from the mobile device. And if you do custom forms as a part of HR actions, that'll be on the mobile device. So stay tuned. Right now we can't, but that's coming very, very soon. What are the possible authentication methods for the mobile app? So right now, username and password, and then the multi-factor authentication. So for the mobile app, it's username and password only right now. We have a blind employee. Can he use the new app? That's a good question. I don't know officially. What I was told is that the new mobile app does comply with most, if not all, of the, and I'm forgetting the technical term, but it complies with most of the standards that are available to accessibility. All right, so for people that use accessibility tools, supposedly our system is designed, but I can't say that I've actually tested it. But it's certainly something we can, reach out to support at beyondpay.com, and when we get the new mobile app running, it's certainly something that we can test out. The old mobile app did struggle in this area, so it wasn't very accessible from that standpoint. But apparently, the new mobile app is very accessible. Can you view PTO balances in the new mobile app? You can. So let's go my info, my time, and let's look at my balances. All right, so employees can come in here and see their balances. I got 12 days of sick available, 25 and a half days of vacation. And then I can request that from here as well. Got a question. Can a manager send a notification to a specific employee? No. So right now it would have to be tied to a workflow, or it would have to be tied to some kind of built-in notification. You can't just, like an email, you can't just send out an email from the application. It's not really designed to work that way. It's actually a pretty commonly requested feature, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets some touch. But it's not anything I'm aware of that's on the list. All right, let's jump into the system. So let's close out here. Bear with me just a moment as I we got lots of logins today. All right, again, ask questions if you guys have them. We're going to take a look at succession planning and perspectives. And again, perspectives is our first foray into analytics. All right, so we're going to start incorporating some analytics into the system. All right, so let's log in here as Kathy. So Kathy is an administrator on the system. All right, so I'm just on my dashboard. All right, and if you guys didn't know, if you click on Edit Tabs when you're looking at your dashboard, you can take a look at all the available modules, little report widgets that you can pull in. All right, so you just drag them over from the right to the left. So it's a good idea to play around with them and see what you have available. All right, so first thing we're looking at here is succession planning, and you can set up multiple dashboard windows to be for different types of positions or for different kinds of situations. There's a little settings button right here, so you can determine which screens that you want to see. So you can kind of see that I pre-configured these. And just to give like a little bit of some role playing here, is we have a CEO. All right, so we have a CEO of this company, and we've identified 6 individuals that we think would potentially be a fit for a CEO in the future. All right, so we just have some screens accordingly. So I've got a couple different factors that we can track. And what's kind of neat about this too is if I click on any of these quadrants with data in them, it'll take me to see the actual individuals that are associated. All right, so I've got Jennifer Aniston, Beth Mays, and Robert Ice. All right, and if we take a look at Beth, I can actually see the details. All right, so her performance, she's at a medium, readiness, she'll be ready in 1 to 3 years, we think. She's got high potential, risk of loss. All right, and then as you change this, you're saving the history so you can kind of track progression over time. All right, so this is just a very, very simplistic example. All right, so this one's showing me my risk versus impact of loss. All right, so these employees right here in the upper quadrant, there's not really a high risk of loss. They're not likely to leave the company. And even if they did leave the company, it would be a bit of a minor impact. All right, I've also said that's green, but maybe, as I was thinking about this, maybe if they have a major impact on losing your organization, maybe that should be more of the green, right? So you can adjust what means green, what means red, what means yellow. So maybe if you wanted to flip this screen around a little bit and think of, okay, who's not likely to leave, but who would also have a really high impact if they did leave? Maybe we want to see that from a little bit of a different perspective. All right, so this is all part of succession planning. It does require HR Enterprise. So you would need to have HR Enterprise in order to use succession planning. It's becoming a part of the performance development track. All right, so we really have 3 major tracks that are kind of forming as the product grows. So we've got core HR, then you've got performance management, which encompasses performance reviews, succession planning, performance development. And then we've got talent acquisition, which is more the recruiting and onboarding side of things. All right, and another one that I wanted to show you guys. Let's log in as a different user here. All right, is team perspectives. And you can see I also have a different succession chart set up. And actually, let me, don't mind the wizard behind the wall right here. I'm going to switch this up just a little bit so we can see a little better. All right, so this is perspectives, all right? Something that's available with every product on the system, so you do not need HR in order to use perspectives, though there's a lot more functionality if you're using HR. And the idea behind perspectives is that we're trying to identify different perspective categories, all right? So I've got happiness, I've got performance, I've got reliability in this case. You're not limited to those, so you can create your own terms. And then I'm trying to think about, okay, how can I try to measure happiness? All right, what are some things in the system that I'm able to factor in for happiness? So compensation, maybe schedule. So if somebody's working too much overtime, that might mean that they're not very happy with their work. On the flip side, maybe some organizations, if you get like 5 to 10 hours of overtime, people are happy because they're making a little bit of extra money. But if they have more than 10, then they're not happy. And if they get no overtime, then they're not happy because they don't feel like they're making enough money. Right. So we can come up, and every business is going to be unique, but we can come up with these metrics and start saying, okay, how can I try and figure out what that what happiness means? What does performance mean? What does reliability mean? All right. And then if I click on these, it'll show me some details for each employee to see like a little side by side. Again, all color coded. You can customize the colors for what makes sense. All right. We also have some heat maps. So we can see Ashley, Mr. E, Josh, and Jennifer, and kind of see a little across the scale of where they're falling in. And I don't typically dive into this level of detail, but I just wanted to point out, because I think sometimes seeing how something's set up can get the brain juices flowing just a little bit more. So team perspectives is a profile. Okay, so for those that are familiar with our system, it's a new profile that's available once this is turned on. And as you can see, I've got happiness, performance, and reliability set up. Again, those are customizable. And then I can identify different categories within each perspective and weight it. All right, so performance is based on a combination of performance and incidence, and reliability is based on attendance right now. All right, so let me view and edit these rules. So for example, based on my attendance, all right, if a person has an exception on their timesheet called absent, right, so they're scheduled to work but don't show up, I can now say, okay, if they showed up 0%, or if they had 0% of exceptions during whatever time period I'm evaluating, so that you might want to evaluate based on a week, on a month, on a quarter, on a year, on a rolling 12 months. So taking a look at, in this case, I get 4 points. So in my scale, 4 is high, is good, right? And 0 is low, is bad. All right, but you could flip that if you want to think of it as 4 being bad. And if I've got 100%, all right, if I'm absent every single day for the last week, maybe that gets 0 points. That's bad. And let me show you. So we got a couple of them right now, and this is a growing list. All right, I mentioned this is a brand new feature, but there's more features coming, if you remember, on the development roadmap. So there's going to be more things that you can bring in. So cost center totals, so based on hours per cost center. All right, based on certain counters. So maybe based on how much overtime somebody had, maybe if somebody worked on a holiday. Based on exceptions, so if somebody was late, early, absent, maybe they maybe you want to track if they come in, more than 30 minutes early versus 5 minutes early. Based on incidents, so workers' comp claims, that might be attendance issues. Based on pay, so maybe based on commissions or bonuses or some kind of flat dollar amount. We can track pay variances, tax changes. So if their taxes changed a certain percentage from one pay period to another, maybe that can be a little blip. Deduction changes. All right, so again, we're starting to pull different areas of the system. That's payroll, that's HR, that's TLM, that's scheduler. We're starting to pull different areas of the system and be able to track those perspectives, and then attempt to put a little bit of a score together. So a pretty cool area. It's an emerging area. It's not something I'd recommend pushing out to your employees to let them see necessarily, especially as you're building it and trying to think of what you want your metrics to be. But it's potentially a pretty powerful little tool. Again, it's included with the application. It's something that you guys can start using right away if you want to use the user guide, or you can reach out to us for help, and we can certainly put a project in place as well. All right. And again, support.beyondpay.com, and you can take a look at these release notes. We're going to be sending a follow-up message after this with a recording of this webinar, and we'll also provide a link to look at the full release notes. Encourage you guys to read them. There's a lot in there that we didn't even cover today. All right. All right. And I apologize, I didn't have a chance to get to everybody's questions. All right. But I will mark them down, and maybe we'll do like a little FAQ if necessary. But again, reach out, support@beyondpay.com, or go to support.beyondpay.com and upload a ticket. And we'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you're interested in the new mobile app, please sign up. If you've already signed up, feel free to be a squeaky wheel. And thank you very much for attending. Have a great rest of the afternoon.